Hi guys, welcome to How to Play Pengy Pals, Antarctica's greatest heroes. Do you ever read one of those recipes online and the person goes on and on? They're like, my great aunt first introduced me to this recipe in Slovenia, and every time I eat it, it takes me back to that wonderful family vacation. And you're just thinking, get to the recipe, I don't care. In Pengy Pals, you and up to 4 players take on the role of a penguin superhero in this dice-rolling combat game. You work together to defeat one of 3 enemy scenarios with 3 different win conditions. To set up a game of Pengy Pals, you and each player will choose one of the 4 penguin superheroes. Each of the superheroes has a unique action deck, 2 unique dice, 5 power markers, and a health tracker. Each of them has different unique abilities and play styles, which you can read about on the back of each player sheet. Then you will choose one of 3 enemy scenarios that come with the base game. Each enemy scenario has their own win condition, making every game of Pengy Pals unique. To set up your player sheet, you should place the player sheet in front of you. Place your matching action cards in the designated draw area to the left of your sheet. Then place all 5 power tokens and 2 matching dice to the right of your sheet. You should take note of the different things on your sheet, such as your hunger value, health, special ability, dice abilities, and superpower. For first-time players, just take note of what's on your own sheet and worry less about what everyone else can do. To set up the enemy scenario, you'll place the enemy sheet in the center of the table within reach of all players. Take the enemy deck and place it in the designated area to the left of the enemy sheet. If the enemy scenario has a health tracker, take the health token and a red power marker to show that the enemy starts at full health. Follow any other setup instructions, such as Walter's instruction, to put Walrus gang members into play. And make sure you take note of the win condition for that scenario. To determine who will be the leader or first player, players determine who has traveled closest to the South Pole. Or you can determine the first leader randomly. Either way, the leader should be given the leader token at the start of play. After everything is set up, you'll place 2 fish per player into the community fish storage. Then, each player will draw 3 cards. You'll keep 2 in hand and place 1 face up in your discard pile, so each player will start with 2 cards in hand. A game of Pengy Pals is played in a series of rounds, each consisting of 4 phases. The phases in order include the player phase, the enemy phase, the eating phase, and the regroup phase. Each player should be given a reference card, which includes all 4 phases on one side and all the actions that may be taken during the player phase on the other. To start the player phase, the leader will roll all dice into the community dice pool. You will only roll the dice that correspond to the pals that you were playing with in the game. Then each player will take turns, starting with the leader taking 2 actions at a time. To use a die, players may take a die from the community dice pool and place it in their ability or support dice slots. When you place a die, you will resolve the effect that matches the symbol of the die you placed. For example, if Pengy places a die with the attack symbol in his ability die slot, he will deal 4 damage to an enemy. He chooses to deal 4 damage to Walter. But be careful, whenever you resolve an ability die, the enemy will respond with an ability reaction. You will find the matching symbol on the player sheet and resolve the effect. In this case, Walter deals 2 damage to each pal. Pengy and each other pal reduces their health by 2. When you resolve a support die or do any other actions, including on action cards, you will not do an ability reaction. These only trigger when you place a die in your ability die slot. After you resolve a die that matches a symbol on the bottom of your sheet, you will place a power marker. In this example, Pengy uses a fish die and then covers the matching fish symbol with a power marker. When you cover all 5 power markers, you will unlock your superpower for the rest of the game. When you use a die that does not match one of the symbols under your ability or support side, instead use the standard effects that are listed on your player reference card. In this way, dice can always be used by all pals. Another action is discarding a card for fish. All action cards can be discarded from hand as an action to collect 2 fish. Simply place the card in the designated discard area and place 2 fish in your community fish storage. You need fish to play cards and to eat during the eating phase, so do not forget about this option. On the top left of each action card, there is a fish with a number that designates the card's fish cost. To play a card, you will remove the number of fish equal to the fish cost from your fish storage. You will then resolve the ability written on the card. In this example, Pengy pays 2 fish to play the Pengy Pals Unite card. Each pal heals 2 health when this card is played. After an action is resolved, you will place the card in the discard pile. Some cards have the ongoing keyword. Those cards are placed in the designated ongoing card area beneath your player sheet. Those cards remain in play for the rest of the game. Each pal is permitted to have 3 ongoing cards in play at one time. If you already have the maximum amount of cards, you may play a new ongoing card, replacing one of your current cards. You will have to discard the ongoing card you replace, and you do not gain fish for discarding in this way. If a player has filled both dice slots on their player sheet, they have the option to pass after they've taken 1 or even 0 actions. If later in the round, the play comes back to that player, they may choose to continue to take actions. We recommend letting other players know if you plan to indefinitely pass until the end of the player phase. After all players have passed consecutively, you will move to the enemy phase. Some enemy cards and abilities may trigger at the beginning or end of phases, so make sure you review the cards and enemy scenario in play. The leader will reveal a card from the enemy deck, resolving the ability on that card. After, you will discard the card into the designated discard area next to the enemy scenario. Players then move to the eating phase. Each player must eat a number of fish that matches their hunger value on their player sheet. To eat fish, simply remove them from fish storage. For each hunger not satisfied, that pal will take damage. For example, if there are only 2 fish available for Pengy to eat, Pengy would take 1 damage. Players decide how to distribute available fish. Players may not forego eating fish if there are fish available. Players then move to the regroup phase. The leader token moves clockwise to the next player, and each player draws an action card. All dice will be given to the leader, and then you will move back to the player phase. A game of Pengy Pals continues in those 4 phases until the win condition is met or until all pals become exhausted. In that case, the players would fail the scenario and the game would be lost. And that's how you play Pengy Pals. There are advanced concepts and more detail in the game's rulebook. We hope you enjoy the game of Pengy Pals and try out all the different scenarios and pals. Thanks for watching!